Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf with you. Got a great show for you guys today on this Wednesday afternoon. Believe me, we got a lot of great stories here. You'll enjoy some of them. We're going to talk about Kavanaugh. We got a couple of stories on Kavanaugh and the hearings. We also have Donald Trump doing hurricane relief. Oh boy. A couple of stories on that. We have an update on some of the migrant children. It looks like we've lost a few more. Oh boy. We got Beto versus Beta. Update on that. So maybe some good news. And so, like I said, we got a great show for you guys today. Please share the stream if you haven't already. We're going to have a lot of fun here on the show. Before we get into it, of course, got to do our normal thing. We are doing a subscriber drive. So we are trying to get to 100,000 subscribers because I hear lots and lots of good things happen when you hit to 100,000. So I'm going to try to do that. But I need your guys' help, obviously, because I cannot subscribe to myself 100,000 times. So I need your help. We are very, very close. So here I'm going to see if I can get here and get a number for you guys on how many subscribers we're actually at. 87,888. Hopefully soon we can see 88,000, and then we just need 12,000 more. So that's probably going to take a while, but you know what? It's all right. I'm here for a while, at least. So yeah, please like and share the stream. Sharing is very, very important. That helps get new people to get into the stream and hopefully subscribe. So there's that. We're also looking at getting to 10,000 Facebook follows. So that would help out as well. So facebook.com/TYTNation, trying to do that. And then of course on Twitter, if you want to follow me too, that I don't really care about that too much, but sure. More Twitter follows. I'll take it. At Just Politics or at ATN on TYT. Okay, guys. So let's get into the stories here. Let's start out with hurricane relief. Fun times. So President Trump is doing some hurricane relief in North Carolina. He's there to inspect some storm damage and to help some of the victims. And of course, like everything that Donald Trump does, he manages to mess it up. Watch.
President, look, he's got a snack in his... There he is, distributing meals.
Mr. President, this is Casey.
Got it? Have a good time.
Sir, this is Casey.
You're in a yellow shirt. You're in a yellow shirt. Come on, you help us.
I think he just said, have a good time.
Okay, in case you guys didn't hear that, he told that person, have a good time. Because, you know, that's the first thing you want to hear after a storm blows your house down. Have a good time. Here you go. Unbelievable. Or at least, you know, it would be unbelievable, but I think by now we know this presidency is... A lot of unbelievable things have happened already. So, look, he's got no empathy. He doesn't know how to relate to other people. He doesn't even know how to pretend to care about other people. Earlier in the day, he was at another person's house that was damaged by the storm. And there was a New York Times reporter who wrote down Trump's exchange with this homeowner. He said, Trump crossed the street to a small brick house where he stopped to greet an older man in a t-shirt. Behind the house, a large yacht had washed ashore and was shipwrecked against a wooden deck. Trump gazed at the yacht, saying, "Is this your boat?" The owner answered, "No." Trump turned and replied with a smile, "At least you got a nice boat out of the deal." Wait. Oh, at least you got a nice boat. Really? It's Speaking to reporters, Trump said the owner told him his insurance company also didn't want to pay for the damage to his home. He said, we're going to find out. We're going to find out the name of the insurance company. I think it's incredible what we're seeing. This boat just came here. Now, wait a minute. You realize he can't actually keep the boat. That's not his boat. That's not his yacht. I know. He's making a joke, right? But no, he kept going back to the boat. Talking about, okay, we're going to help you with the insurance because the insurance doesn't want to pay for the damage. Well, then what the hell's the point of insurance? Maybe you should think about that when you think about our insurance system when it comes to healthcare. But anyway, goes right back to the boat. Oh man, it just came right up on shore. That's amazing. Never seen that before. Dude, you're supposed to be helping people. But look, in order to do that, in order to actually help people, you actually have to at least pretend to care. And he can't. He's incapable. In Puerto Rico, for example, after Hurricane Maria, Donald Trump was throwing paper towels at people. Like he's shooting baskets. No, but you don't understand. They were beautiful soft towels. They had these beautiful soft towels. Very soft, very good towels. They're regular towels. They're regular, normal paper towels. Who the hell talks like that? Who tells storm survivors to have a good time? MAGA guys, are you proud of this? He's an idiot. He's making you look stupid. It can't be that a third of the country is this dumb. And they're like, oh yeah, nope, that's my guy. You know he's an idiot. You can't be that dumb. Seriously. And look, you should also know that he doesn't give a crap about you. Or these people. God forbid, right? That we have a countrywide crisis. And this is the thing. We've already had crises, right? This hurricane, Florence, is one of them. Hurricane Maria is also another one. We see how they botched that in Puerto Rico. But look, if you have a countrywide crisis, you expect this guy to handle it? No way. It's going to end up being a tremendous disaster. Yikes. Okay, there's more. All right. Now, as the cleanup from Hurricane Florence continues, the president wants to remind you that water is indeed wet.
This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Rarely have we had an experience like it, and it certainly is not good. But the people of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, all of the areas affected, you've been incredible. There's been a loss of life, and may God be with them and their families. That's a tough one. It's tough to understand, but this has been a really difficult period of time for a lot of people. FEMA, the job you've done, the military, Coast Guard, what you've done in saving so many lives has been really something special. Law enforcement, always. Again, I just want to thank everybody for doing such a great job with a very difficult situation. Florence has been a nasty one, a big one, like that area certainly has never seen before.
Thank you, Mr. President, for pointing out the wetness of water. We would have never known otherwise. I mean, hurricanes being tremendously wet. Who knew? Nobody knew hurricanes could be this wet. What if the wettest from the standpoint of water? What does that even mean? Not a smart person. Not a smart person. Look, now, here's the thing. Not a stable genius, okay? After this video came out, social media did what it does best. Immediately mocked the president. Now, I want to read you some tweets here, because this is fun. US Cyber Command says, this dude just said one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water in a pre-recorded video shoot, and nobody even bothered to do a retake. That is a good point. It's not like this was a surprise interview, right? Where they get the gotcha questions, right? No, somebody took the time to set everything up, right? Set up the camera and like, okay, Mr. President, here's what we want to say. We want you to put a statement out on, FEMA, and the rest of it's fine. Thanking FEMA, thanking law enforcement and people for doing their jobs. Oh, that's fine. But water is wet. Okay, that's fun. Now, here's the thing. Somebody filmed it, edited it, and then posted it online. And this is the best they could get. This was the result. Patrick Charrier writes, one of the wettest we've seen from the standpoint of water. How can something this rehearsed in Trump-adjusted terms still be this bad? Again, could you imagine this being the third or fourth take? And whoever greenlighted this probably was like, you know what? Fuck it. That's the best one that we're going to get. Let's just post it up already. There's more. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. He has the best words. Forgot who wrote that. Holly Figueroa O'Reilly writes, thank you to the USCG, federal, state, and local authorities, first responders, Cajun Navy, and NGOs like CEDR Digital for your hard work. Number 2, what the fuck does one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water even mean? That's a good point. Good question. Jason Ravazzolo made some comparisons to past presidents. Franklin Roosevelt said, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Abraham Lincoln, those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under a just God cannot long retain it. And then Donald Trump, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Big water, ocean water. DJ Gus Gomez writes, I just took a shower in the bathroom, and I swear it was the wettest shower I've ever taken from the standpoint of taking a shower with water. Well played. Mike Donovan wrote, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. This just in, folks. Water's wet. Nick Mastro, tremendously big, tremendously wet. And finally, Mystery Friends says, one of the wettest we've ever seen in terms of water, and it's certainly not good. Thanks for the expert commentary. Indeed. Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, for having the best words. Tremendous words. Okay. So that's fun. So let's jump into the rest of the show here. We've got more real stories. We're just warming up. Okay. It's being reported that the Trump administration lost an additional 1,500 kids. These are migrant children who illegally entered the United States alone this year and were placed with sponsors after leaving federal shelters. So according to congressional findings released yesterday. Now, the revelation echoes an admission in April where the Department of Health and Human Services found that the government had similarly lost track of an additional 1,475 migrant children that it had moved out of shelters last year. So, look, we've already lost 3,000 kids. Now, Senate investigators said the department could not determine with certainty the whereabouts of 1,488 out of 11,254 children the agency had placed with sponsors in 2018 based on follow-up calls from April 1st to June 30th. Again, we have lost 3,000 children. Bang up job, guys. Wonderful. Nice work. Now, the problem with this, other than just losing the kids, is there is a lot of concern that these kids will end up with human traffickers or used as laborers by people that pose as their relatives, as has happened before. Since 2016, officials at the Department of Health and Human Services have called on sponsors to check on children 30 days after they were placed there. But the department has also said it was not legally responsible for those children after they were released from the custody of its Office of Refugee Resettlement. Caitlin Oakley, spokesman for the Department of Health and Human Services, offered a response to these findings, and she said, as communicated to members of Congress multiple times, these children are not lost. Their sponsors, who are usually parents or family members in all cases, have been vetted for criminality and ability to provide for them, simply did not respond or could not be reached when this voluntary call was made. They're not lost. Oh no, we just don't know where they're at. But wait a minute, that's kind of the definition of lost. You don't know where they're at. Yes, you know you've placed them with certain people, with certain families that you say you've done background checks on, but now you can't reach them, therefore they are lost. And speaking of, how do you lose 3,000 kids? Again, all we want to do is we just want to know that these kids are actually safe, that they're not in places where they can be exploited or be trafficked. If we don't know where they're at, we can't actually make sure that they're not still in those that they're still not in those situations. Because again, you never know. Now, the findings were also accompanied by legislation introduced on Tuesday by Republican and Democratic senators to clarify the department's responsibility for ensuring the safety of migrant children, even when they are no longer in custody. So this is bipartisan legislation. Now, what would it actually do? Well, it would require officials at the Department of Health and Human Services to run background checks before placing children with sponsors. It would also compel the department to make sure the sponsors provide care for the children in their custody, including making sure that they appear at their immigration court hearings. Look, over 80% of all the people that are, come in for asylum show up to their immigration hearings. That's what these unaccompanied children are actually doing. They get sent up here by their parents, because their parents oftentimes are unable to come with them, to escape violence and rampant poverty. And they come here to try to get asylum. So, most of them, if not all of them, end up going to their hearings. So, but of course, in the legislation, that's something that Republicans built in because they want to make sure the kids show up. But yeah, they're going to show up. And you know what? It is good to make sure. If only there was just some better way to track these kids. Or if they actually tried to track these kids. Weird. But anyway, additionally, the legislation would require department officials to notify state governments before migrant children are placed with sponsors in those states, and would increase the number of immigration court judges to help the Justice Department process cases more efficiently. I actually agree with that. I don't see really anything all that bad with this piece of legislation. It seems fine. Now, some of you might ask, well, why do we need this? Well, it's because we've had incidences of migrant children being trafficked. In a report 2 years ago, the Senate subcommittee detailed how department officials had mistakenly placed 8 children with human traffickers who forced them to work on an egg farm in Marion, Ohio. The report found that department officials had failed to establish procedures, including sufficient background checks and following up with sponsors to protect the children who were traveling alone. Now, not following up with the sponsors. Well, they tried to follow up with the sponsors, and they couldn't find them. So, apparently, they need to continue following up. They need to continue to, find these children. Now, look, this is a very complex issue, right? I mean, what do you do with the thousands of unaccompanied minors who came here to escape terrible conditions in their home countries? It's not an easy problem to solve, and we've got to find places to place them, obviously, and A lot of those children have been placed, 11,000 of them at least. But we also need to make sure that we know where they're at for their own safety. I mean, this is a real crisis, and we actually need a government that can, I don't know, do its job in protecting these kids. I don't know necessarily how we should go about tracking them in some ways, but I'm sure there are ways for us to be able to do so, to make sure that, again, they don't end up in the hands of traffickers or people that are intending to do them harm. And of course, maybe I'm probably going to get responses of why should we, I mean, why is it our problem? Why do we have to take the kids in to begin with? Well, if a homeless kid shows up at your door, what are you going to do? You going to slam the door in his face? Or are you going to find some way to actually help them get into a home? That's the situation that we're in. So I'm just saying, it's not an easy situation. We've got to find a way to track these kids so that we know they're going to places that they should, and try to find some way to, of course, keep them safe out of the hands of traffickers. And right now, the government is doing a terrible, terrible job of doing that. Okay. Moving on. Let's go to Kavanaugh. All right. Hold on here. The former classmate of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, who was said to have been in the room when Kavanaugh allegedly sexually assaulted a woman decades ago, has told senators that he will refuse to testify at next week's hearing. Now, Mark Judge, who is the friend in question, wrote in a brief letter to Senator Dianne Feinstein and Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley that he did not ask to be involved in this matter, nor did anyone ask me to be involved. Well, you are involved, and they're literally asking you to be involved. I mean, after all, you were allegedly in the room when it happened. Of course, he wrote, and this is important, quote, "I have no memory of this alleged incident." Well, that's interesting. Now, look, normally you would expect a flat-out strong denial. No, it never happened. I obviously wasn't there because it didn't happen. Instead, it's, I have no recollection. I don't recall. I have no memory. Now, where have we seen that before? Look, again, if it didn't happen, you'd say, hey, this didn't happen. She's making it up, and I'm actually willing to testify on that effect. Okay. Instead, he's saying, I don't remember. You know, it's so long ago. I don't remember. Huh. Now, that to me says it probably did happen, and he might be trying to cover for Kavanaugh. That's my personal feeling of this, right? Not at all backed up by facts, because we don't have facts yet. And let's be honest. Now, this is a serious charge, and I just want to be careful to say that that's my own personal belief based on no fact. Okay, now there's more. He said, "I never saw Brett act in the manner Dr. Ford describes. I have no more information to provide to the committee, and I do not wish to speak publicly regarding the incidents described in Dr. Ford's letter." I never saw him do it. So, he must not have done it. I mean, I never saw Brett do anything like that. Well, hey, guess what? Sometimes people are complete assholes when you're not looking. Sometimes they do sexual assault. And sometimes they're complete assholes right in front of you when they allegedly attempt to assault a woman. Look, again, not saying that he 100% did it, but I think there needs to be an investigation before he gets confirmed to the Supreme Court. Because, as I said before, this is a serious, serious issue with serious implications if he gets into positions of power. and saying, well, I've never saw him do anything like that. When you were alleged to have been in the room and then you refuse to testify and say, I have no recollection, it makes you think that there is something going on here. Now, the biggest surprise is Democrats are at least fighting back a little bit, tiny bit. After Judge's letter became public, Senator Doug Jones, wow, Doug Jones actually doing something, said the Judiciary Committee should subpoena Mr. Judge, which would force him to appear in front of the committee. He said, quote, you can count on the fact that that letter, his response, is going to be entered into the record by someone, and that needs to be tested as well. If he doesn't want to do it, and they're going to go forward with this hearing, they need to subpoena him, let him say that, and let some senators or someone cross-examine him. Interesting. Now, look, I think if the Democrats actually wanted to be strong, well, then they would have left the hearings long ago. They would have had the hearings. But in the context of Democrats, this is probably as strong as you're going to get, which is sad. Nonetheless, Senate Democrats earlier also called on Judge to testify at the hearing scheduled for next Monday. He said, Chuck Schumer, minority leader, he said, let's not rush the hearings. Let's not repeat the mistake made in the Anita Hill hearings. Let's call the relevant witnesses, not just the two selected by Chairman Grassley, who did not want to call the hearings to begin with. How could we want to get to the truth and not have Mr. Judge come to the hearings and be asked questions? So again, Chuck Schumer being as tough as Chuck Schumer can make, can be, right? He's not a strong person, but he is actually right. I mean, if you're going to go with that strategy, if you're going to say, okay, let's at least have hearings so we can, take time and examine the evidence and see whether this person actually did this alleged assault, and then we can make the decision to go forward with the confirmation hearings. Okay. Yeah. That's as strong as the Democrats are going to get. Again, which is sad. They should just walk out of the hearings, period. I mean, in no universe would Republicans ever consider giving a hearing to somebody, a Democrat, who has these kinds of allegations against him. I'm just saying, the Democrats bend over backwards to be super nice and civil to Republicans, and Republicans are absolutely vicious. Why are we even having this hearing? Why are we even having this hearing? Well, we know why. Brett Kavanaugh is one of the most pro-corporate judges that you could put. Yes, just like the previous Supreme Court justice that I can't seem to think of the name of at the moment, which is weird. Judge Neil Gorsuch, very, very pro-corporate. So is Brett Kavanaugh. In fact, I believe it was 87% of the time, or in 87 cases. No, I think it's 87% of the time, he sided with corporations. Well then, that shows you why Democrats are allowing these hearings to take place and why Republicans are continuing to push them. It's all for the donors. It's all for the donors. But here's the thing. There's literally no reason not to subpoena this guy. This shouldn't be a political issue, right? But it is. Unfortunately, it is political. I would expect, though, in a good system, in a perfect system, any SCOTUS nominee under credible allegations of sexual assault have an investigation. Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. These are serious allegations. And look, as far as why Donald Trump continues to back him and most of the Republicans, well, it's because there's a reason Donald Trump picked Kavanaugh out of all of these different justices that they had lined up. I mean, likely it has to do with his stance on the president and if the president can get in trouble or not. So, I'm just saying, That's why the Republicans are defending him so much on this, and it really makes me sad that Democrats are not going to be stronger, and will continue to hold these sham hearings. Okay, that's it on that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We got like 2 more stories here, so we'll do those, and then we'll end the show. Okay, so we'll be right back. Please make sure to give us a like and a share if you haven't already. Also, I'm going to check the subscriber numbers when we come back. Super chats also acceptable if you want to send them. Questions, comments, etc. We'll do that right after this break. Around the nation. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Jeff Waldorf. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. That helps out. Let's see. Let me check my subscriber numbers. See if we're at anywhere close to 89,900. 87,889. So, okay. There's that. Moved by one. All right. More stories here. We're going back to Kavanaugh. All right. Now, it didn't take long after the woman who accused Judge Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault for her to be viciously attacked and threatened. In fact, Christine Blasey Ford's lawyers told Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley in a letter that the university professor had been effectively forced into hiding after receiving violent messages targeting both her and her family. Her lawyers wrote, in the 36 hours since her name became public, Dr. Ford has received a stunning amount of support from her community and fellow citizens across the country. At the same time, her worst fears have materialized. She has been the target of vicious harassment and even death threats. As a result of these kind of threats, her family was forced to relocate out of their home, her email has been hacked, and she has been impersonated online. So, I want to show you what the right has been saying about Blasey Ford. Let's take a look at some clips here from different Fox News shows. Take a look.
Christine Blasey Ford. Her story was revealed in the Washington Post yesterday. She alleges that back in high school, over 30 years ago, that man, Brett Kavanaugh, accosted her. She was assaulted.
You don't automatically necessarily need to be believed. You have to have evidence and credibility to be believed.
An 11th hour effort to derail Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination tells you everything you need to know about today's left.
This has all the hallmarks of an 11th hour character assassination.
11th hour attempt to smear, slander, besmirch the character of Judge Kavanaugh.
11th hour political hand grenade.
They wanted this to come out right before the vote. That's why, Tom. Wake up. Just like they did with Justice Thomas.
This was in the early 1980s. It's now 2018. She was 15 years old. She's now 51. There is ground for some suspicion there.
Law enforcement would view it very, very skeptically because of the passage of time.
What took them so long?
Desperate attempt to try last minute to derail Judge Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation.
It's just the timing of it that a lot of Republicans are questioning now.
She had repressed her memory supposedly till 2012, but it was when he was up for the Supreme Court that suddenly the stakes got higher.
So it makes one wonder if this was timed.
It is fair to question the timing of this.
The timing here is very suspect.
Why now? Why didn't this come out earlier?
I don't think there's any denying that this is unusual.
Somebody has to know what her reputation was in school. Was she known to be truthful, honorable, honest? Well, how about her former boyfriends? I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, but if you're going to go there, then let's go there.
Wake up, Tom. Wake up, Tom. Wake up. Look at the timing. Again, they're talking at first, oh, it's 11th hour, it's besmirching, whatever. Now, why now? Why now? Why the timing? I mean, why when he's up for a Supreme Court seat? Well, isn't that a good time for this? When you have somebody who's going to get into a position of power and be able to decide landmark rulings when it comes to women, especially reproductive rights, that'd be a fantastic time to be like, oh yeah, this guy would not be good for women. And this is why. Because this is how he treats women, or at least how he had allegedly treated a woman back in high school, earlier. Oh, but the timing, there's been so many years. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that there was that we should just let people go for crimes that they committed in the past. Oh no, you murdered somebody 20 years ago? Doesn't matter. And I'm not saying it's the same thing. Of course, there are gradations of things. Like, for example, Beto O'Rourke got a DWI like 20 years ago. Do we care so much about that? No, but this is sexual assault. We should actually care about that. I'm just saying. But, here's the thing. This happens basically any time that there is an allegation against a Republican of sexual impropriety. And you wonder why people don't, you know, speak out. It's because they get this treatment. I mean, Ingram, oh, this tells you everything you need to know about the left. Yeah, because maybe we actually give a shit about women and don't just see them as political tools to be trotted out whenever it helps our narrative. I mean, we've seen it over and over. There are Republicans that pretend to care about women when Democrats are accused of impropriety, but when it's a Republican, they stay silent or they, you know, circle the wagons. But see, this has an effect, right? You have all these pundits that immediately call this an 11th hour political hit job, when we haven't seen a shred of evidence to corroborate that at all. There has been no investigation. What we're saying is maybe there should be an investigation. And of course, the whole purpose is rile up conservatives. Rile them up. Whip them up into a frenzy. And there are some, of course, that do get whipped up, and then they start doing terrible things. The first day this came out, she immediately got doxxed. All of her personal information put up online. Doxxed on Twitter, right? And then you had people threatening her, going after her. And look, it wouldn't be such a stretch that if she didn't move around, if she didn't go into hiding, there might be people that start showing up at her house or her work. And who knows, there's a good chance that these same people could be armed. I mean, it's dangerous for her to even come out with these accusations. Not dangerous for Kavanaugh, dangerous for her. She's taking on somebody with power. And that makes you kind of think, wait, why would you ever want to come up with these accusations and make them when this is where what you're going to face? Doubly so if those accusations turned out to not be true. I don't believe that they're untrue. I just think we need an investigation. And if the investigation clears Kavanaugh, if there is one, well, then I will completely accept it and issue an apology. But right now, there doesn't seem to be any evidence to suggest that she's not being truthful. And the question is, every time this happens, every time that there is these allegations of sexual assault or impropriety, they always ask, well, why didn't you come out sooner? Well, why would you put yourself in this kind of danger? Well, you wouldn't. Normally, unless you're telling the truth. And hopefully, we will find out the truth soon enough through an actual investigation. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they look into this. I'm hoping they find a truth, whichever it lies. And so we can find out what really happened and the kind of character that Judge Kavanaugh really has. Okay. That's it on that. Okay. Suddenly, here comes Beto O'Rourke. New poll out from Reuters Ipsos, working with the University of Virginia Center for Politics, has Beto O'Rourke beating Ted Cruz by 2 points. 2 points. Huh. Now, let's not get too excited. Let me give you the numbers first. 47% of voters said that they favored O'Rourke, while 45% said that they favored Ted Cruz. Now, that poll, for clarification, has a plus or minus point margin of error. So, look, Beto might be tied with Ted Cruz, or it could be in the opposite direction with Ted Cruz ahead, or we could whisper of a dream and have Beto beating Ted Cruz by at least 4 points. Interesting. Now, this comes a day after another poll done by Quinnipiac found not so good news. They found Cruz with actually a 9-point lead, so that poll likely, obviously more favorable towards Ted Cruz, but it also shows that there is a chance. there is a chance. In fact, Larry Sabato, director of the UVA Center for Politics, told Reuters, quote, "There is a possibility that it could happen. I'm not saying probable, but it is possible. It is possible." Fascinating. Now, here's the thing. Ted Cruz is deeply unpopular. People do not like him. He is one of the least liked politicians in office. Almost everybody despises him, especially his fellow Republicans. Well, Lindsey Graham famously said in the Senate floor, a senator could shoot him and no one would convict him. No one in this room would convict that person. Nonetheless, they actually have been circling the wagons. Why? It's because they know Ted Cruz is vulnerable, and they're really scared that they're going to lose their majority in this midterm election. Okay. Now, the UVA poll also showed something interesting. Hispanic voters prefer O'Rourke over Cruz by a ratio of about 2-to-1. That is a much greater advantage than Cruz had in the Quinnipiac poll, which found that 54% of Hispanic voters supported O'Rourke and 45% backed Cruz. So Beto O'Rourke obviously getting a bigger share of the Hispanic vote, or at least in some of these polls. Now, an average of polling for the Texas Senate race produced by Real Clear Politics also showed Cruz up by 4 points. So it is possible, but it's going to be a tough race. Now, the Cook Political Report, however, does rate the race as lean Republicans. So now look, lean Republican, you might be like, oh man, that means the Republican's probably going to win. No, it's just, they're just saying it's more likely. The thing is that changed earlier. It was solidly Republican. Now it is lean Republican, which means Beto O'Rourke has made a huge inroads. He is definitely changed the polling on this because he's ran an actually pretty good race. I mean, this should be a solidly red seat. But Ted Cruz is very, very disliked for obvious reasons. He throws his own wife under the bus. He has no spine. He pretended to stand up to Trump for about 0.2 seconds. And then, and this is why Trump was, while Trump was calling his wife ugly and then saying his dad might have killed JFK. And afterwards, I mean, we got the picture of Ted Cruz phone banking for Donald Trump. It's probably one of the saddest things you'll ever see. But that's what happened afterward. Ted Cruz has no spine. No spine. And is deeply, deeply unlikable. But here's the thing. O'Rourke is raising a lot of money. None of it from corporate PACs. And has a lot of organizations on his side. On Ted Cruz's side, again, you have a deeply unpopular president who's going to be doing a rally here for Cruz really soon. And, well, a ton of money from bankers and big corporations. Now, that has led Cruz to having very, very little to attack O'Rourke on. For example, the things that they've attacked him on are ridiculous. They dug up old photos of Beto when he was in a punk band, his mugshot from a DWI he had decades ago. And while they're going after Beto O'Rourke on that, by the way, these same Republicans are pushing a SCOTUS nominee that has very credible allegations against him that he sexually assaulted a woman in high school, allegedly. Bit of hypocrisy there. Because if you're going to go after Beto O'Rourke for getting a decades-old DWI, you can't also turn around and say, oh, look, what's the timing? But it was so long ago. Why are you bringing this up now? Little hypocrisy there. But, you know, there's more ridiculous attacks. For example, he's gonna bring in California values like dyed hair and tofu and silicon. Look, I ain't no fan of tofu. That's for sure. I'm on the side of barbecue. And I'm sure most Texans are as well, but you can like barbecue and hate Ted Cruz. I think those things are Not even close. Not even comparable. But no, speaking of barbecue, one of the things that Ted Cruz is actually saying is that if you guys elect Beto O'Rourke, he's going to get rid of barbecue. There go your sausages. There goes your burgers and your steaks. Gone. Your barbecue chicken. Gone. Under Beto, it's going to be barbecued soy, which is ridiculous. But that's the kind of ridiculous stuff. And that basically shows that Ted Cruz doesn't actually have any real issues to attack Beto O'Rourke on. Turns out he's running on more popular policies than the Trump tax cuts, which are deeply, deeply unpopular. He's running on healthcare. I wish he would run on Medicare for all, or at least if he supports Medicare for all, be more vocal about it. 70% of the American people support Medicare for all. But he's running on at least more popular policy than Ted Cruz is. Because Ted Cruz has got nothing. Nothing. So that's why he's doing these bullshit attacks. Not only that, but also Ted Cruz is sending out fundraising emails. I'm sorry, not emails. Fundraising mail, right? So this goes through the Postal Service. That looks like official government summons. Isn't that weird? But the whole idea is to trick old people into opening them. And then maybe donating to Ted Cruz. It's legal, but it's very, very, very dirty. I think all of this leads me to believe that Ted Cruz, these poll numbers are way too close for Ted Cruz's comfort. And that shows me that he is indeed desperate. He is... Look, I don't know if he's going to lose. I don't know if he's going to win. I think he's got a pretty good chance at keeping his seat. But Beto O'Rourke, that's a strong, strong challenge. And it just makes us think that maybe we can still whisper of a dream of finally sending Ted Cruz home, where he will likely look like this. Sad. Okay. That's fun. Okay. All right. So we're getting out a little early. I don't have any more stories for you guys today, unfortunately. But hey, thanks guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, please give us a like and share. Anybody who's missed the clips, we'll have them up on our Patreon page later. So that's free to get to, obviously. I don't put videos behind paywalls anymore. So that's for you guys. We'll do our video roundup later on today. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, please like our Facebook page, facebook.com/TYTNation. I'm going to check the numbers here on the subscriber count. See if we're at 87,893. Getting better. So thank you guys. Thank you, new subscribers. We appreciate that. All right, guys. That's it. That's all we got for you guys. Thank you. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, guys. We'll see you all tomorrow.